Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Shifty's 49ers Talk. In this video, we are going to be doing my Week 16 power rankings. As per usual, I do the bottom 3, then I do the top 10. I'm also going to give you a couple of teams who are pretty close to being in that bottom 3 and being in the top 10. Lot to talk about in this video. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in. And kicking off the bottom 3, third from the bottom, I actually have the Houston Texans. Now, the Texans' worst record in the NFL. They're 1-12-1. But let's give credit where it's due. The last 2 weeks against two damn good teams, they've played them really tough and actually could have won both games. Against the Dallas Cowboys 2 weeks ago, against the Kansas City Chiefs, they easily could have won both games. Now, of course, it's a sign of a bad team that they threw both of those games away, but give credit to Lovie Smith, give credit to the coaching staff, and of course the players who are playing really hard, not giving up on the year, which would be fairly understandable to do. But of course the Texans, they have to be in the bottom 3, 9 losses in a row, and it's been a rough year in Houston. Now, moving on to the team that's second from the bottom, and I have the Indianapolis Colts at 4-9-1. The Colts, basically, we saw it. They gave up the historic comeback to the Minnesota Vikings, up 33-0 at halftime, and they blew it. The offense imploded. The defense couldn't get a stop. Jonathan Taylor's out for the rest of the year, and honestly, after 4 losses in a row, I don't know if they're going to win another game this season. Really rough end to the year for Indianapolis. That's a team that's going to be in transition in the offseason. Probably new head coach and new starting quarterback coming up for Indy. Now, and for me, my worst team in the NFL right now is the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals just seem like a total mess. Cliff Kingsbury not really looking like the guy there anymore. He's really struggled the last season and a half. Steve Keim, the general manager, he's on leave. Kyler Murray, he's out for the year. Probably won't see him, maybe not even the start of next season with that bad ACL tear. And I just think the Cardinals are a team that are just falling down, they're tearing at the seams, and who knows what their future holds. To me, they're playing the worst football right now. Of course, Cardinal fans will argue Houston's the worst team, I think, but Houston, really good back-to-back games. Cardinals, 4 losses in a row. Now, the two teams to me who just about escaped the bottom 3, I'm going to have the Chicago Bears. They've lost a lot of games in a row. Justin Fields is basically trying to carry the offense, not enough by himself, though he needs help, especially on the offensive line. The defense played okay against Philly, but in general, not great. And also the Denver Broncos. The Broncos actually got a win without Russell Wilson. Their defense is good, but the offense is in complete shambles. But those are the two teams almost making the bottom 3. Now, coming up next, it's going to be my top 10 teams. Just before we get into the top 10, I do want to say a couple of teams who just narrowly escaped the top 10. I'm looking at the New York Giants. They're pretty darn close, and to me, I still have the Miami Dolphins as a team that are right there, not too far away from the top 10. Now, getting into the top 10 and coming in at 10 in my power rankings, I have the Detroit Lions. The Lions, 7-7 on the year. They've actually won 6 out of 7. The Lions really playing good football the last basically 2 months of the year. Jared Goff and the offense putting up crazy big stats. The Lions offense is going to be a top 10 offense. And the defense, the issue early on in the season was the Lions defense. They were historically bad, if anything. The last 3 games, they're only giving up 18 points per game. They've won, they're doing really well 3 in a row. Watch out for the Lions. They might be that team that if they sneak into the playoffs, that nobody will want to play, the Detroit Lions, and I never thought I would say those words. Now, coming in at number 9, I'm going to have the LA Chargers, 8-6 on the year. Chargers having a little bit of a resurgence the last couple of weeks, similarly to the Lions. The defense has been playing well. They have 2 wins in a row. And here's the thing, Justin Herbert, when you have a guy like him behind center with good weapons that they do have in LA, the Chargers are always going to be a threat, especially if they can make those big splash plays defensively and they can score points in a hurry. The Chargers, to me, really just progressing as the season goes on. Can they get Joey Bosa back? I don't know if he's done for the year. If they get him back, watch out for the Chargers. But here's the biggest question with them is, can the Chargers just not do Chargers things? They just find ways to lose games, and that's got to be incredibly frustrating if you're a Chargers fan. Now, 8 in my power rankings, I'm going to have the Baltimore Ravens, 9-5 on the year. They lost a bad game on Saturday against the Cleveland Browns, but to me, any team that relies on their quarterback, and every team does to a certain degree, but I think the Baltimore Ravens are probably the most reliant on having their starting quarterback to make anything happen offensively. Lamar Jackson, great throw over the ball. We of course know what he can do extending plays with his legs or picking up yardage with his legs. Without him, the offense is toast, but the Baltimore Ravens do have a top 5 defense, points per game. They get Lamar back, they make it into the playoffs. If you have a great defense and if you have a quarterback who can make plays, that's always a good thing heading into January. Now, coming in at number 7 in my power rankings, and it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys. 10-4 on the year. They just had a brutal loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars in overtime. They threw away a big lead the week before. They barely escaped Houston with a win, and that's something that for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, that's not something that you want to see in middle of December as we're headed closer to the playoffs. The Cowboys have a big game coming up this week against Philadelphia. There's going to be no Jalen Hurts reportedly, so they need to come away with a big win and show why they are a contender. Here's the concern though with the Cowboys. The defense recently, the last 4 games, giving up 25 points per game, and Dak Prescott as well in that same time frame has thrown 7 interceptions. Not going to cut it if you're the Dallas Cowboys. And coming in at number 6, we're going to have the Minnesota Vikings, 11-3. Look, we could talk for hours on end about that crazy big comeback, and full credit to the Vikings. You know, a lot of teams would throw in the towel. You're down 33-0 at halftime, but I think a lot of that, look, it was certainly a lot of bad play by the Vikings. There was a pick 6, there was a blocked punt that got returned. They went for it stupidly on 4th downs. I think a rookie head coach like Kevin O'Connell's going to learn from that moving forward. To me, with the Vikings, the biggest questions moving forward, can Kirk Cousins really show up in the spotlight in the big games? Can he show up? And 2, can the defense play better? They have to play better. Honestly, not good enough. Again, if they're a team that has those Super Bowl aspirations, when it gets to January, if you have to play outdoors, let's say at Philadelphia, that defense needs to be a lot better for Minnesota. Coming up next, guys, is going to be my top 5 rankings. And coming in at number 5, I have the Kansas City Chiefs dropping a couple of places from last week. Look, they're getting wins. They're 11-3 on the year, but the last couple of weeks, it's been a little bit iffy for the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, overtime against Houston, not great, and just narrowly escaping a win against Denver. Now, of course, the Chiefs are always going to be able to put points on the board. They have the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL, always a good thing, and a huge thing, of course, in the playoffs. They have the best quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion, in Patrick Mahomes, but the biggest concerns for me are 2 things. The defense, points per game, they're 18th in the NFL. That's really iffy. That could have huge ramifications if you have to travel to a team like the Buffalo Bills. Not only that, on the year, the Chiefs are -6 in the turnover battle. Again, another thing that could rear its ugly head in the playoffs. And obviously, as we know in football, one bad game and you are done in the NFL. So they really have to look into fixing some of those issues. Now, moving on to number 4, and this has been a team that's been rising and rising and rising, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. 10-4 on the year, 6 wins in a row, really playing great football. If we look at some of their numbers, the Cincinnati Bengals, number 10 in terms of defense points per game, and that's something that they've improved significantly throughout the year. Also, offensively, they're the number 5 scoring offense in the NFL, and on the year, +5 in the turnover battle. So that could be a really, really big thing when it gets to the playoffs. Later in the year, there's a big game, Sunday Night Football, Bengals and Bills, and I'm really, really excited to see how that one goes. Now coming in at number 3, and it's going to be the San Francisco 49ers at 10-4. The Niners have the longest winning streak in the NFL, 7 games. The Niners, best defense in the NFL, and I don't think it's even really that close. The other big question that they've been able to answer, Brock Purdy, so far so good, hasn't had any disastrous plays, playing within himself, able to make some throws down the field, has some mobility, and the 49ers run game is looking better than ever. Also, 49ers getting healthy at the right time. We know Deebo Samuel's back for the playoffs. Javon Kinlaw, the practice window's been opened. Does the defense get even better with a guy like Kinlaw coming back? That remains to be seen. Now, coming in at number 2, and the Eagles, I'm going to have at number 2. They're 13-1 on the year. And the number 2 and number 1 team, it's very, very close. But the Eagles, just a couple of unimpressive games lately, barely beating the Chicago Bears. And here's the thing, Jalen Hurts, he's injured. So he's out for the coming game against the Dallas Cowboys. Does that injury linger a little bit? I don't know. I don't think so. Sounds like he'll be good to go for sure before the playoffs. But just one of those things where you like to go into the playoffs with momentum. You don't want to basically limp into the playoffs. We'll see if Philadelphia can turn it around, but let's not make any mistakes. Philadelphia are a fantastic team. They are the best team in the NFC. Looking at some of their numbers, in points per game, they're second offensively and 6th defensively. So just really, really good. And they still have the best turnover differential in the NFL. So Philadelphia, still a fantastic team. And of course, we have a new number 1 team this week, and I actually have it as the Buffalo Bills, 11-3 on the year, a huge division win against a Miami team that really had so much on the line. Buffalo able to get the win, crazy conditions at the end of the game, and to me, the Buffalo Bills getting healthy at the right time. They have Tre'Davious White back playing good football, Kyer Elam, the really good rookie, playing good football. That defense is really, really good. Of course, we know what Josh Allen can do. I think actually an underrated move was getting Cole Beasley back. We all know about Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox, but Cole Beasley is that guy, just another weapon. When it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, he can get open, extend the drive, keep the ball in the Buffalo Bills offense's hands, and that's going to be a huge thing come January and so on. But the Buffalo Bills, to me, right now, if they were to play the Eagles in a neutral ground, I would say the Buffalo Bills out of 10 games maybe win 6 of them. But it's very, very close. And there we go, guys. That is going to be my power rankings for Week 16. Absolutely, of course, I want to hear all your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Let me know who are some of your best teams, who are some of your worst teams, where you agree, where you disagree, and always let's try and keep it as friendly as possible. Just my opinions based on what I've seen. But a huge shout out to everyone for all the support over the weekend, for all the new subscribers, all the support with super chats, memberships, and thank you so much for attending the streams. I'm going to be doing games coming up this week. It's going to be fun. This is the time of the year where football gets its best, and couldn't be more excited. But there you go, guys. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I have 2 things to say before I head out. The butt counts, and I'm going to catch you guys on the flip side.